Hello to all. Thank you for joining us on Short Takes. I'm the host, Blaine Duncan, with the Alabama Take. If you're in and around Alabama, perhaps you've heard of my next guest. If not, you should. She's the founder, she's the executive director of Project Say Someting, which operates out of Florence and Muscle Shoals area. But hopefully you've heard of her no matter where you are. It's very important work. It's Camille Bennett. Welcome.
Hello.
Project Say Someting, for those who may not know, is an organization that strives for political transformation in terms of more Black leadership, more education about Black history, where money is spent so that we have more money in Black communities. Can you tell me anything I'm missing that seems important about Project Say Someting?
Yes, we have a focus on reproductive justice as well.
Yes.
And we confront anti-Black systems and ideologies and promote reproductive justice. We fight against patriarchal violence and using education, community empowerment, and advocacy.
The reproductive justice is huge. I guess we all know exactly where this is going, where I'm going with this. It's huge because you and I are talking just a few days after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. And it seems dire. You may be more hopeful than I. What do you think about, and what do you see happening?
Well, obviously, it's a national issue, so it's something that we're going to have to fight in Congress. And we're being inundated with people saying, well, what can we do here in Alabama? And those of us that live in Alabama know Alabama's been waiting for this moment for a long time. So I think on a state level, I don't know that our efforts are going to be very fruitful, but I think if we take it to a national level, take the fight to a national level, eventually we can get things back to what they were. But when you think about reproductive justice, a lot of people just think about like abortion rights, and it stops there. And
Right.
Project Say Someting, we've been focused on reproductive justice from the lens of quality child care.
Yes.
Black women overwhelmingly do the work of child care, which is really difficult work, and are grossly underpaid to do that work. Also, our maternal death rate and our infant mortality rate here in Alabama is ridiculous. You can compare it to those in like third world countries. And one of the things that we do is we provide free doula services to Black mothers. We also have a Black Mothers Emergency Fund. So Alabama claims to be pro-life, but when a child is taken from the home for alleged abuse and neglect, oftentimes it's Black women who bring in those children to keep them out of the foster care system, but they aren't given any resources, no money, no food to support those children. And Project Say Someting will come in and provide resources for the mothers that take in children that are not their own to keep them out of the system.
We really need to vote for someone who's willing to allocate funds to universal child care and those types of things. It makes me very angry. We have politicians who say we can't afford this and that, but yet they pay for, list off these other things that seem to be okay in their funding. Do you get a sense that Project Say Someting is growing?
I do.
Okay, good. Yeah,
we've grown tremendously. I mean, we started off as a local organization based in Florence and spent years just doing the work that we do in our local community, which was really important. But then after 2020, we've grown to a statewide organization, an organization that people in the social justice circles recognize as a statewide organization. And we fight policies on the state level. So I'd say we've grown tremendously.
I'm going to say it a few times, but for our viewers, for our listeners, you can donate to Project Say Someting. Go to projectsaysometing.org. Hugely important. If you've got, $5, $10, $100 that you want to give, this is what you'll be helping. And you guys also do ally training. Am I correct about that?
We do. We do ally training all the time, all year long. People have this misconception that those people that work along with Project Say Something must be Black because we fight for to dismantle anti-Black racism. That's not true. Many of our supporters and the people that have been with us since day one are white. And ally training is crucial when it comes to actually diving into the work of racism and anti-Black racism. And you have to be educated and understand that mistakes are going to happen. There are going to be cultural differences, but if you're committed to doing the work, then you're committed to education. And that's one of the things that Project Say Something has done for years, is ally training.
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. Did Project Say Something start with the Confederate monument to try to move it, or were you already doing work
You're
long before?
already doing work years prior. So we started in 2014.
Oh, whoa!
Yeah, in 2014,
Oh my goodness.
after the Ferguson riots.
Okay.
And it was just a community conversation about racism. People wanted to come together in our community and talk about it. And we got an overwhelming response, and many people that were interested in diving into the conversation. And from there, we became a nonprofit and just kind of grew from there. But we started working and really working on dismantling the false narrative around Confederate monuments in 2017. But we really took off when we demanded to take them down and started protesting in 2020. But we had been doing that work long before.
And they still haven't moved it?
No, they still haven't moved it. Which, Florence has been in so much trouble. We've been on the news. We had a manhunt. Project Say Something ended up suing them in federal courts. We were shamed for this crazy logo. I don't know if you've heard about the logo fiasco. So, I mean, the monument's still up. And Florence is paying the price because, they've made so many mistakes when it comes to Black empowerment. So they're being shamed publicly, and
that's one thing that
karma,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a favorite memory since 2014? Now, just by the way, I'll correct myself. I thought you guys had started. Well, you came on my radar shortly after George Floyd. That's when. And I started following you guys and keeping up with. By the way, everyone can follow on Instagram and keep up with some of your work. Do you have a favorite memory since then that you feel like was a good example of some of the good work you guys have done?
My favorite thing that we've done recently. So in childcare, teachers and owners could not get the pay they needed because of the swipe system. So if you're familiar with food stamps and how they work, you get a card, you swipe your card, kind of like a debit card. The same thing is true for childcare. If you qualify for free childcare, you get a card and you have to swipe in and out every day for your child, which sounds pretty simple, but it is a nightmare. In and out. You drop your child out, you have to swipe in. You pick up your child, you have to swipe out. Here's the catch. If you miss one of those swipes, so that's like 10 swipes a week. If you miss a swipe, that center does not get paid for the entire week for that child. And on top of that, the Alabama Department of Human Resources, when COVID hit, said if a parent misses a swipe, you got to go back to that parent who didn't have the money to pay, which is why they're on child care subsidy, and get the money back. They're not going to give you the money, even though the federal government gives them the money for the entire year up front, which was horrible. So you had a staffing crisis, directors and owners not having the time to monitor this really difficult system. And you have a pandemic too. And one of the things that we did, my favorite thing that we did, is we got that system changed. So now child care owners are actually getting paid for enrollment. So if the child is enrolled in the system, We don't have to fool with that swiping mess anymore. It's a much easier system to work through. And that came by way of lobbying and advocacy. And we spent 2 years working hard to change that policy. So we're very proud of that.
Yes. And you should be. When you talk, I have a 4-year-old daughter. So when you talk childcare, I care about people. But when you talk childcare, I really want to tune in and listen, because I know
Yes,
that it's such a cost. I cannot imagine someone doing it who has to work 2 jobs. I cannot imagine a single mother, a single father. It makes me sad if I thought about my wife not being here for me. I can't imagine. It blows my mind.
right.
So kudos to you for that. You guys do so much more than just maybe what people think you do, and that's so
Yes, yes,
nice.
yes. And people think, our biggest victory will be taking down the monument. Well, we really care about that. But at the end of the day, a monument is a piece of stone. What we care
Mm.
most about are people, working families, and we care about some of the most marginalized people in Alabama, which are Black people.
Some people still don't understand, when you help a marginalized person, it can easily help others,
Absolutely.
everyone.
Everyone benefits. Everyone benefits.
You have a list of explanation of your values on projectsaysomething.org. We're going to put that in show notes. Don't forget about our show notes. These are a typical list of values you'd expect to see from someone based in Alabama. And does anyone from out of state or beyond get surprised that you exist in Alabama? Are they ever asking, or do you ever get hit up in someone saying, I had no idea that someone in Alabama would say this?
Yes, I do. And I'm always surprised that they say that, because when you think of civil rights
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
constitutional rights and all of the freedoms that Black people have been afforded in this country, well, we're not really free, obviously, but like the progress that's been made, it happened in Alabama, right? So of course, the Alabama will continue that legacy of innovation, of strategy, and what happens in Alabama does influence the rest of the country. So I think people kind of like have this misconception of what we're like here. Like we're just, I don't
Yeah.
know, like country, I don't know, they say country cousins or whatever. They treat us like country cousins, but if we want progress, we have to be innovative, and the stakes are higher here. We're kind of screaming into a void, and oftentimes it's difficult to be heard, so we have to work twice as hard.
Yes. One of the big things I have used the Alabama Take to do is to show, hopefully, someone from out of state, if they ever happen upon our site, to say, we have a different viewpoint than you might expect.
Hmm.
I think that's hugely important. It's one of the values we have, I think, that overlap with probably what you would say. Let's get into our 4 questions.
Sure.
And our first question is still about your work. What you're doing takes so much effort. So I think this question suited for you quite well. What's the biggest waste of people's potential, in your opinion?
Complacency, just accepting things as they are, status quo, not wanting to change, not wanting to evolve, not wanting to progress. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's a huge waste of potential, because if you're unhappy, or if there's injustice, believing that all you can do is just shrug your shoulders and
Mm-hmm.
keep doing the same thing that you've been doing, it crushes the human spirit. So I think that the world would be a better place if everyone recognized their divine potential and what they were truly capable of, because we're capable of a lot as humans.
That's a beautiful thought, too. For question 2, what's an abstract idea that you've held on to? It's an ideal that you've had since childhood that has carried you even into adulthood.
It sounds corny, but justice. I've always
No.
been this way. Like, one of my high school friends came by my house recently, and he was like, Camille, you are always like trying to push for justice. I went to a high school that was super racist, and we went through a lot as Black kids. And I was always pushing the envelope, saying, "Hey, we can do better. We can demand better. They can't do this to us." So I think just a thirst for justice. And I would also say an idea that I had since a child. I would watch like the 60s, you know,
Okay.
like, God, just let me have a time like this, where I could do something great, like I saw in the 60s. Never imagining that we would go through everything we've been through and truly manifest that. I didn't want the pain. I just wanted the opportunity to do the things that I saw
Mhm.
my ancestors do in the 60s,
Yeah.
So
To make change for good, right? You wanted that
yeah, I
opportunity.
think that was an idea, just to be able to fight the power,
Yeah.
fight the powers that be.
Yes. I watched an interview with you that where you talked about how you went to the principal of your school and you got some change done. So you must have been what, 15, 16 in doing this.
16, I was 16.
Now look at you.
They told us we couldn't have Black History
Right.
program. I was like that's insane. Of course not. And my mother helped me, obviously, but I mean, we still got it done.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Do you
sure.
still write poetry? Because I think in that interview you talked about how you wrote poetry a lot at that
Oh
age.
gosh, yeah. I don't. Sometimes I do a little something. Like I just recently was on a plane and I did like a little something. I need
Yeah.
to write more, but I remember back then. Oh my gosh, I was writing like this radical, melodramatic poetry about racism, and some of the kids didn't understand, and it was, I don't know. I was trying my hands, and
I'm,
trying to figure it out, I guess.
I'm going to give you an out on this one. What can I ask? What years those would have been?
Oh gosh. My real when I was writing, it was like the most controversial one I wrote was like in 10th grade. So that would have been then like 93, 92, 93,
Okay,
something like that.
so you and I
Yeah.
are about the same age.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
44. Yeah.
I'm 45, so yes.
We're same. We
Mhm.
graduated the same year. Yeah.
Yes, and things have changed culturally, I think. Sometimes I wanna say for the better, and sometimes I just see step backwards, and it's okay, alright. Okay, this brings me to my next question, though. Is there an activity or anything again, these are so suited for you. Is there an activity or anything that helps you feel calm?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Gosh, yoga.
Really?
Yoga is
Okay.
is 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 a huge calming factor. Walking my dogs is
Okay.
calming. Sitting on my back porch. We live around tons of woods. Just sitting out there and being in nature is calming for me. And cooking is calming.
Oh, nice. I used to do yoga here and there. You're right, it's pretty calming.
It
I need
is.
to do it more. Yeah.
Yeah, I do it every day.
Oh,
There's so many benefits. I love it.
our final question is the same question for everyone. We lighten it up a little. We've adopted our slogan since day one. It's something's done up real good. So I'm gonna give you the platform to say what's done up real good for you. It could be anything.
Anything
Yes, ma'am.
and done up real good is like what I like to do.
It's bringing you happiness. You're into it. You're digging it. I mean, you could almost. My mother used to say this when she would iron my clothes. She would get the shirt. She'd say, "Oh, this shirt's done up real good," and she'd hand it to me to wear to school for the next day. So
Oh, nice,
I
nice.
adopted that as our slogan, and now everyone on the site uses it, and we just goof off with it a little.
I got you. Well, what's done up real good is my new puppy, Karma. Her name's Karma. She's
Is
a
she
dog.
nearby? Is she
She's not, she's outside in her
okay?
little domain. You
Okay.
don't want Karma to come on here. She's wild. But she's done up real good.
All
We
right.
love her. She's like my little baby. And the four of us, my family, we
Mhm.
just sit around and watch her and laugh. And she's brought so much joy to our life. So that's what's done up real good in my life, I
I
think.
love it. Uh, and feel free to use that phrase. It's silly.
Oh yes. Oh, anything country.
Yeah.
I'm all about it.
That was my mom. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
ProjectSaySomething.org. Everyone needs to visit the site. Donate if you can. Follow them on Instagram. Are you also on any other social media that we?
Yes, we're on Facebook and Twitter. Twitter is at Stay Woke South. We're on Facebook. You can just look for us, Project Say Something. We have a public page. We also have a group. You can join our group.
Oh, nice.
Lots of cool discussions on there. That's where you can find out about our events, anything, any calls to action for the community, and donate because organizations, nonprofit organizations founded by Black women are grossly underfunded, especially in the South. So please, your donations mean the world to us.
One of our members of our team who we do like movies and TV, it's a very irrelevant podcast, but he lives in Florence and often comes to the events. I might send him your way to say hello. How's that sound?
Please do.
Yeah. Adam actually turned me on to what you guys have been doing. So
nice, and it's so
him.
great that you've been following us. Thank you for your support, for having me on the show.
No, you're so kind to do it. Thank you so much for your time, viewers. ProjectSaySomething.org. You know where to find them. We're going to put those in show notes. You can just click on the link. Thanks so much to Camille Bennett. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Will went walking and was blown away. Found his finger by my mama's grave.